right. All right, let's copy this into Twitter. Okay, let's get started then. So what are we going to do here? This is about wrapping component libraries. And the goal for this course is to just teach everything you need to know to wrap a component library. Somebody else's jQuery, JavaScript, whatever code to use in your Aurelia application. So, my thought was to build these 3 very important components. Leaflet's really cool because it's a mapping application. It's really robust. I should develop in Chrome. It's gonna make things easier. Let me minus this guy. Add in a new Oh, I see what I'm doing. This is totally different. This is totally different. This is not... That's what I'm doing. That's kind of cool, though. I like that with the little picture-in-picture approach. Let's go over here to working as Firefox and a display capture. I don't know what Firefox is doing there. Is it just... okay. Okay. Watch me learn how to use OBS. Okay. We're going to delete that Firefox. Yes, I do. Okay. It's going to make this whole thing a little easier. So Leaflet's a really cool library. It's a mapping library. It's not jQuery specific, which is my only concern about it, because there's just so many jQuery libraries out there that it's hard to talk about wrapping components without talking about a jQuery library. But Leaflet is really cool, right? So it's open source. Would love to promote it a little bit. It's very, very complex because mapping is a complex thing. You have to do a lot of different things. And all of these things are done kind of in an imperative, you might say it's a functional style, but in this kind of imperative style as opposed to a declarative style. Very similar to D3. D3 might be another very interesting one to cover, but in this case, I think I'm going to stick to actual components. Well, it's a little bit more declarative than I thought it would be. Especially with the GeoJSON there. Anyway, I love maps. I love GIS. So I think this is going to be a very cool one to cover. Also, I think, anything that we learn here is going to apply to Google Maps as well, which is way more popular. But again, like, I'd love to plug a open source library. And I think a lot of developers, especially, Aurelia has its biggest following in America, but I think the second biggest is going to be out of India, if I'm not mistaken, where, favorable exchange rate economies kind of favor open source solutions where Google. I know here in Japan, right? It's a lot of money in Japan, and still people are like, dude, Google Maps is so expensive. I'm not touching that. Use something else. So that's kind of where I'm at with this. There's a lot of stuff to wrap here. There's a lot of content. So for any example I want to build, I think I'm going to have a pretty good example. Let's get this guy up here just in case anybody's chatting with me. Yeah, and this is the wrong. Zero watch in here. Yeah, so a lot of content here on Leaflet. Would love to plug Leaflet. Interested in the content. Should be fun. And Progress is another one. And I actually learned this from the Aurelia Contact Manager tutorial. But typically with something like Leaflet, right? It's something on your page, right? So actually, you know what? I might be able to skip it. Let's find out if I can skip it. Quick start guide. Yes. So here's the main difference here is you need an element on your page. And then you call lmap map ID, which means you need a custom element, right? It's got this map inside of it, and you call the map l.leaflet.map function on your map. Now, mProgress is different. Wow. Okay. I really like how he built this like thanks and this copyright thing on there. That's pretty cool. I wish he had a website here. There you go. Ah, that's right. Yeah, so this guy right up here. Now here's the main difference between the two. Is you just call, start, done. Yeah, so you can see there's where typically you would have something like my baby's playing with me. Hi, baby girl. So where typically you would have something like my map, and then you'd call map on it, right? jQuery wrapper. This my map element has to exist first. If the map element doesn't exist, well, I mean, since the map element has to exist first, you build a custom element, right? And it has a view. And that view has just like one element in it, probably. That element is the element that you're going to initialize as my map. And progress is interesting because it doesn't have that. And I think that's why it was selected for the original Contact Manager tutorial. You just call inprogress.start. I'm guessing if we dive in here. Oh, you didn't load it? Oh, come on, man. Gotta load the library in your page. Anyway, it's probably here. Right? So it's a custom element in a sense, right? Because you put it on your page. You put it somewhere. I'm not 100% sure how to use it. Especially if you had, I'm not 100% sure how the best way to use this would be, but it doesn't have a view. And that makes it kind of an interesting example to look at. Ah, okay. This is exactly what it's going to be, right? So you're going to come over here in your view, right? You're going to have something like form, some kind of form, right? And you're going to, or some kind of div, right? And you're going to have content in here. You know. But you want a loading bar up top. And probably you're going to want to do something like bind it to what would be a good API for this? Yes. So probably some kind of promise.bind. And you bind it to, you know, whatever promise is in your view or something like that. Or something. This can be improved. I'll think about it a little bit. But you want to bind it to something that's going to control it. You want it to be inside this element here. So it's custom element, right? It belongs in your view. I suppose you could also just do this as a custom attribute, but that's still, it feels a little weird. You could definitely do this as a custom attribute. Yeah. You could definitely do this as a custom attribute. I wonder if that's a better way to do this. Ah, you know what? That feels better. That feels quite a bit better. Oh, that's nice. Look at that. Under 100 lines. I'm always excited when I see a file that's under 100 lines of code. Well, so I'm going to think about that. I'm just starting and I'm just brainstorming at the moment. The third one I had, right? So the difference between this and my next example is this exists on the page, right? Which makes it a great custom element. So it exists on the page. It's up here. It's taking up space. It's doing things. It's got a little loader on here. Right, and so if it's taking up space on the page, it's entirely reasonable to say maybe you want the loader in this little white box here instead of elsewhere. Instead of up at, you know, in your window, whole window. And that's a good sign for a custom element. Is just it's something that takes up space. You want to put it somewhere on your page. Whereas a custom attribute, a good sign of a custom attribute, is that you never see it, kind of thing. It fundamentally changes the behavior of a particular element. So if you think about an anchor tag, right? Now, if you click this, well, no, let's try something else. Let's try ping, right? Right, if you click this, it'll probably just open it right there in the browser. If you do download as an attribute, right, fundamentally changes the way that this thing operates. So it says, download it, try to download it instead. And that's the mark of a good custom attribute. It's not on the page. It's just changing the way an element behaves. And a great example of this, and I've talked this up for the very same reasons of Leaflet. It's an open source library written by, and it's been updated a little bit. That looks real clean and nice. Fantastic library, really useful. And it's for drag and drop, right? And the problem with HTML drag and drop Well, there's a few of them, but the biggest problem is it has trouble communicating between the dropped element and the container that the element is dropped into, right? So there's a huge communication problem. Basically what Interact does that's amazing is it handles these elements and creates a interaction variable that's shared from start to finish, from drag, you know, start from the very beginning to drop, and it's communicated by both elements. So really nice library. Additionally, it adds some extra properties that are very helpful. Inertia in particular, it'll compute where the inertia is bringing the element, so you can use that. Really nice library. But you don't see this anywhere, right? This is just some elements that have been now told that they can be dragged and dropped. So makes excellent candidate for a custom attribute for that reason. So that was my plan for the custom attribute. I'm thinking at that point we'll have covered all the important things for building a library, right? So I do want to talk about jQuery a little bit because there are so many, and you know, if you're using Webpack, I'm using the CLI for this project. I think it's a good idea for the resources to do it in CLI. My favored setup is a System.js setup, but particularly with the CLI is using typically Webpack under the hood, which means that you need to configure it. I think this is in the Aurelia project. I have to figure this out. And is it just me or do I not? Oh, it's right there. What the heck is this? Oh, okay. Oh, that's awesome. I'm thinking we're gonna need a provide plugin for the jQuery. I might tag a bootstrap, so that we could cover both of those at the same time. I might not. But I think at that point we're gonna be in a really good. I think we're gonna be in a really good position to say that, you know. I think we'll be in a really good position to say that, you know, whoever's completed this course is ready to wrap any library. And this is like super important because I've seen so many people build on top of the what is it called? Kendo, right? The Kendo wrapper, the Kendo Aurelia bridge. And it's good, but that is a massive undertaking that they looked at. And for a big project, especially something that you're planning to put in production, something that you're planning to make money on, if you get into trouble, it's you're stuck. You file a bug and hope that they fix it, and you have to hope that they covered all the edge cases, and there's a lot of edge cases. That's a huge library. What's faster and more effective, the library, like Kendo's fine. Kendo's good. And especially certain components. I know the, what is the one component? The scheduler component is very unique, very useful. A better strategy is wrapping it yourself sometimes, because then, number one, when you don't catch the edge cases, you don't have to wait for somebody else to fix it. You can just jump in and fix it. And it's, I mean, maybe it wouldn't save you time, but 9 times out of 9, it's going to save you time. It's you know, not having to rely on someone else is very helpful. And then the second thing that's really good about it is it controls complexity, right? So if you look at the Kendo UI library, they have to try to support everybody's use case. And for everybody's use case, there's just a lot of edge cases. And so they wrap every single component and every single property and every single event and everything. But a lot of times you don't need that. A lot of times you're only relying on a few of the features of the library. And so you know what those features are. You can wrap those and keep complexity down in your application. The drawback is you have to spend the time doing it. But in my experience, you come out ahead with that strategy. So this course is going to be very cool. It's kind of part of the reason why I'm tackling it now, kind of earlier in the game. Because I think it's going to be super useful. It's super interesting. It's something I have a lot of opinions about, so hopefully I'll do a pretty good job on it. Alright, so I'm going to eat soon, but until that time comes, let's get started. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do here is look at creating a leaflet custom element. So so the first thing we're going to need to do is install Leaflet. Pim install, save Leaflet. And we're going to need a Leaflet custom element. And actually, let's call this Leaflet map. Now, Ella is going to be a static library. All right. So next thing we need is leaflet map.html. So that looks good. thinking that's a good getting started step. Get rid of this stuff. You know what? I'm going to just do leaflet map. And so my thought about this course also is that it's going to be kind of a down-the-line course, like an intermediate course. So I'm not going to cover like name conventions. I'm not going to cover how to build a custom element, how to globalize a resource. We swap back over. Look at that, 3 people watching. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. What do we end up with? Nothing. But that's okay. 404, fetching a script called the worker. Test unit app spec. That's not expected. 8080, right? Okay, let's see here. Has no exported number app. Circ app has no app. Why is it trying to test? Is that normal? I'm not a big user of the CLI. A few of us, especially those of us who started well before Webpack, well before the CLI. Man, the days there was one navigation skeleton. It was built on JavaScript. It was built on System.js. And you clone it, you JSPM install, npm install, and you're good to go. Gulp watch. That was my happy place. But I know a lot of people, and I understand the appeal of, it's a tricky problem, right? How do you get one of these projects started up? It's still trying to do the app spec. Let's just delete test entirely. We're not going to be testing this app. So that's where I feel most comfortable. When I'm starting a new project, I'm cloning a repository like that. And, okay. Why is it chunking these? Well, okay, so this is what I expected to see. I don't... Naruhodo. This is just, oh, and I don't know how to get rid of it either. Let's see here. Yep. Unregister that guy. Yep. So, right, it's... Because this is on localhost 8080, it was inheriting stuff from another project I had where I was doing a worker, service worker. So that's why I was giving me an error. But off to a good stop because we see the start because we have the leaflet map. Good to go. I think that's good for getting started. Let's see. We'll create the element base. What do I want to say here? We know we need the leaflet library, and we know we need a reference to the map element. So. Honestly, no, I don't. I think. Yeah, just install the two. Yeah, you know what? That's what I'm going to say. I'm going to save it. Yeah. And actually, you know what? Okay. So I'm going to say, first, let's add the custom element. Let's register it. All right. And then let's initialize a leaflet map. So that means install leaflet. That's the way to do it, right? So install leaflet, import leaflet, capture a reference of a map element, and finally use leaflet to initialize the map. And this would be initializing a leaflet map. That's a very simple first step. That looks very much like what I just had here. But you're also getting something done. I didn't like how not done that felt. But very bite-sized. So we add the custom element, register it, and we initialize the leaflet map. I actually don't know what the API is. But I got it right. Did I delete it from here? Well, this is definitely defined, so it's got to be the L. What's the problem? That's the worst looking map I've ever seen. I wanted to at least see a map here. Come on. Why does it look so bad? Why does it look so bad? Oh, you know what? Can't skip. Can't skip. So, I guess the Webpack way of doing this is... Huh. There we go. All right, so we're getting somewhere. All right, I have to go for a few minutes. We'll be back later.